What's up, everybody? So, in working out the process for installing the vaults, I think I need to reiterate some things that I've alluded to, but nonetheless, I think that they get lost in the process of this progression. If you're just coming onto this page, you really need to go back and start reading or listening to all the videos, because these videos are a progression of an educational process, because it takes time to grasp the concepts, especially concepts that you've never learned or concepts that have never been presented to you or have been presented to you poorly through organizations like Re-Inhabited and Anna von Reitz and stuff like that, where they've given you a piece, but there's been no working mechanism of how things are supposed to be. Okay, so you really need to you're either going to have some trust and say, man, you know what, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and the United States Treasury has granted him these capacities, and he has these credentials, like an LLB, Bachelor of Common Law, a Bachelor of Laws, English Common Law through the University of London, which was just recently recognized as a professional degree, while all these other degrees were leaving. My degree, that was not even recognized in the Western Hemisphere 6 months ago, is now recognized. And that's where my International Bar Association for the International Court of Human Rights and Law of the Nations is at. So also, you need to understand, this is a private organization. This is a private American organization, okay? It is operating off of a inherited royalty right trust that is registered in Kentucky. That trust, its initial holdings are oil leases that are in Kentucky. That is its and which is managed by the Department of Energy. And oil production is managed by the Army. So, or the railroad, the Department of Transportation, Department of Interior. So that is what puts this organization in the Department of Interior, because that is its highest level of sponsorship. That's the highest, right? It's an inherited royalty right. The trust is recorded. Our court is a private air equity court. That court is our trustee. So if you hear the name of the court when you hear it, okay, and you get concerned because you do research in the public, and that research in the public tells you blah, 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 there is no sovereign citizen, this is a private registered air equity court, and unfortunately, whether you like it or not, it is my living trust's trustee, period, recorded. Okay, that is my trustee for the living trust that has been granted to this organization. It's been given to the American people. All right, so I need you to understand that when you're challenging things, or you're coming across things, you're challenging them, it doesn't matter. On the record itself, the official record, that is the trustee. The United States Army is the administrator of that trust. Period. Recorded. Okay? That is a matter of law. All right? So, while you're trying to discredit or you're trying to question this and that, it doesn't matter. Those documents are recorded. They are a matter of law. They are in the American Republic, which is my ministry, which is an American religious establishment that is established, that is registered, has a private territorial registered location, okay, and is a actual registered organization in North America. Our United Republic is a commissioned organization that deals with Stripe through our finance division, because we are not allowed to have internal organizations dealing with the money changers, right? Jesus threw the money changers out of the church. Okay. So our United Republic is a commissioned organization that was commissioned by the original trust, which is the Assembly of Robert Louis Craft, which is where the royalty rights are. And that commissioned organization deals with Stripe and deals with our funding and our Ethereum and our shares and our current funding, when funds come in or people purchase shares or they make donations, or all that is done through that organization, which is a sole proprietorship LLC that is commissioned directly by the original trust and represents all the divisions and all the separate organizations and branches of that trust regarding admiralty law, okay, or commercial equity, technically, is what it would be called. Okay, so I'm giving you a rundown of how the organization's set up. We are in the process right now of putting in private American people's depository vaults. Those vaults are required to deposit the records and documents that are needed to move assets, i.e., firearms, private equitable property, real property, and land and holdings into a secured space within North America, away from the federal government and away from the maritime government, in basically a separate country, but technically it's a division of Article 3 of the Constitution at general law or equity law. Okay? So I'm trying to explain this because there's a lot of moving parts, and people are like asking me questions, but they're asking me questions on things they're going to have to learn in the process of putting in your vault, getting your organization, your assembly set up, getting it set up on a living trust to make sure that it's private, to make sure that it's in its proper jurisdiction, to make sure that all those things are there, the court orders are there, all the stuff's there that secures it and protects it, and to have representation when you get interfered with. I'll give you an example. When this all started, Republican Assembly Charlotte County, who is the original organization that connected with us, with me, when that organization was being threatened by the Republican Party attorneys because they were using the name Republican Assembly Charlotte County, because the Republican Party at one point was going after anyone that used, in Florida, anyone that used the word Republican. They were going after them, and they were telling them that they were not allowed to use the word Republican. That organization at that time was a nonprofit organization registered under Sunbiz. Okay? That organization removed itself and replaced it with another organization called Right Action Charlotte County. Their domain is RACC 1776. They were receiving cease and desist letters from the Republican Party's, the Florida Republican Party's attorneys, telling them that they not only had to give up their word Republican, but they had to give up their domain, RACC 1776, even though their new name was Right Action Charlotte County. Okay? With that, what happened was I had to contact their attorney and notify him that that organization had been moved to the private and he is no longer allowed to contact them, and I am their lawyer. If you have a problem, you contact me. Subsequently, never heard from them again. Okay? When you put these vaults in, you are getting an English common law lawyer under international law that has an International Bar Association membership to handle those problems. Okay? To deal with those things so that you can go about your business. You are getting an internationally ordained Christian minister to deal with problems of religion or deal with problems at a religious capacity that the government cannot interfere in. That's why this is an American religious establishment. That's why it's set up the way it is. That's why it's on a living trust the way the original founding communities were set up in 1700. That's why all this research was done. That's why I read 500 books. No one's expecting you to go read 500 books. What we're telling you is you have to have representation, okay? Representative government, representative. You have to have representation in these separate jurisdictions. So when someone comes to mess with you, you have a guard up that will block them or deal with them so that you don't have to and you can worry about your community. Okay? People who are contacting me that are trying to understand, you're not going to understand. You're not going to understand, which is why we've moved to an actionable event versus a theoretical event. We are just going to put them in place. We're going to get them running. We're going to give guidance. We're going to have to act as an appellate, and we're going to have to shepherd them to get up and running themselves. And it's in your interest to get your community up and running, because if you're not operating off of an actual living trust in the proper jurisdiction, you are afloat and you don't exist. If you don't have the sponsorships correct, you will not be able to protect yourself. And that is what opens you up to harassment. That is what opens you up to all these things. So I know this video is long. We're getting started. People are interested. Please understand this entire organization, every part of it, everything that we're doing is coming off of an actual recorded living trust with inherited royalty rights in North America, okay, on the North American continent, that is the anchor point. Those rights, that authority has been granted to this organization for the beneficence of the members who participate within that organization. Okay? People are asking me about what's going to happen here, what's going to happen here. Until you get your community organized, until you get a significant political presence in your county, in your voting district, in your precinct, okay, you're not going to be able to have the force, the political force that you think you're going to have. When you get that done, and then you submit petitions because you want things added to the public ballot and stuff like that, that's fine. Because what's going to happen is we have a system that we're setting up that you're going to be able to file your petitions digitally. We are going to authenticate them. We are going to certify them. So that way, when you submit them to the supervisor of elections, the supervisor of elections can't say, well, no, this person's not here. This person's not here. This person's not here. They can't go through that. They have to take it for what it is. If they want to argue it, they have to go to a territorial court, because it's a superior court or an international court, and argue why they want certain individuals taken out. Okay? So I know the video's long. You're not going to understand this until you are going through it and you are exercising and operating in the process. Okay? You're just not educated enough. And we don't have time to sit here and sit at the pulpit and sell classes and all this other crap when there's actual real work that has to be done. So, God bless, Godspeed. If you want to find people in your community, you want to get your name on a list, go to our website, UnitedRepublic.com. Make your $20 donation or whatever more, and click the yes button, the consent button, because you have to give consent and have your basic city and and county information and your contact information, no addresses, please, posted on our associates page. If you're interested in putting a vault in, and you want to transfer land, or there's a vault where you are and you want to attach to that vault and transfer land subsequently, which there's no vaults right now. They're going to be here, and the next 30 days we'll have some in. Then contact our Michilimackinac territory. I'll leave the new contact information there, and we can work on that. But the reality is, right now, we're talking about land. Your land is in the public. Until it is under a private trust, which is what we have in a different jurisdiction, which we have it inside the Department of Interior, all right, inside general law and equity, until you have that, your property is considered a business or a corporation, just like you are. Okay? That does not change until you move the asset. All right? There's nothing illegal about this. There is no scam. There is no, the county's going to get mad. The county can't get mad. This is an exercise, freedom of religion. Okay? This is a hedge of protection. This is how it's supposed to work. Okay? It took a lot of years to build this organization. So I hope I cleared some of that up. Reach out to us, ourunitedrepublic.com, and or reach out to our Michilimackinac territory and organization, and they will get you to work on getting organized. There is a process for that also. So God bless, Godspeed.